The Stark incident occurred during the Iran-Iraq War on 17 May 1987, when an Iraqi jet aircraft fired missiles at the American frigate Stark. 37 United States Navy personnel were killed and 21 were wounded. Incident. Stark was part of the Middle East task force assigned to patrol off the Saudi Arabian coast near the Iran-Iraq War exclusion boundary. This is an area of sea off Iran and Iraq. An Iraqi pilot attacked Stark in a Dassault Falcon 50 modified business jet armed with 2 Exocet missiles. Even though it did not have the capability at the time, American intelligence was convinced the attack was made with a Dassault Mirage F-1. It took off from the airbase of Shaiba at 2000 and headed south into the Persian Gulf, also along the coast. The aircraft was flying 5,000 feet above the water at 550 miles per hour. An AWACS plane on patrol nearby, with an American and Saudi Arabian crew, first detected the incoming Iraqi jet and informed the Stark, which picked up the aircraft on radar 200 miles out. When it came within view just before 2200, the attacker was off Stark's port side beam. Initially not alarmed, at 2209 Captain Brindle followed protocol and ordered a radio man to send the message, "Unknown aircraft, this is U.S. Navy warship on your 078 for 12 miles. Request you identify yourself." The Iraqi Falcon pilot did not respond to the message. The ship's captain ordered a second message sent, to which there was no reply. At 22:10 hours, Captain Brindle was informed the Iraqi aircraft had targeted his ship, locking his Serrano IV fire control radar onto Stark. The Falcon 50 then fired the first Exocet missile 22 miles from the ship, and the second Exocet from 15 miles. The pilot then banked left and began to withdraw. Stark's search radar and ESM systems failed to detect the incoming missiles, and it was not until seconds before the first hit that the Americans realized they were under fire. The first Exocet missile tracked in a little over 10 feet above the sea surface, and struck the port side of the ship near the bridge. Although it failed to explode, rocket fuel ignited and caused a large fire that quickly spread throughout the ship's post office, storeroom, and the critical combat operations center. The second Exocet also struck the port side. This missile did detonate, leaving a 10 feet by 15 feet hole in the frigate's left side. Electronics for Stark's standard missile defense went out, and Captain Brindle could not order his men to return fire. The AWACS plane was still in the area, and just after witnessing the attack, it radioed a nearby Saudi airbase to send aircraft for an interception. But the ground controllers did not have the authority to order a sortie, and the Iraqi jet escaped unharmed. The USN rules of engagement applicable at the time allowed Stark to defend herself after sufficiently warning the hostile aircraft. A total of 37 crew were killed in the attack, 29 from the initial explosion and fire, including 2 lost at sea. 8 would later die from their injuries. 21 others survived the wounds. Throughout the remainder of the night and the following day, Stark's crew, along with sailors from the destroyer Conningham, fought the fire, which burned for almost 24 hours. Captain Brindle ordered the starboard side flooded to keep the hole on the hull's port side above water. This helped prevent the Stark from sinking. Brindle quickly dispatched a distress call after the first missile hit. It was received by Waddell, which was in the area, and Conningham with 2/3 of its crew on liberty in Bahrain. Waddell and Conningham arrived to provide damage control and relief to Stark's crew. Temporary electronics communications were installed by etc. Perry and team, while Conningham provided an escort for Stark as she slowly made her way to Bahrain. Aftermath. Stark arrived at Bahrain the following day on the 18th of May 1987 under her own power. There she was temporarily repaired by the destroyer tender USS Acadia before setting a course for Mayport Naval Station, Florida, the ship's home port. A court of inquiry under Rear Admiral Grant Sharp was formed to investigate the incident, and later Captain Brindle was recommended for court-martial. It was found that Stark was 2 miles outside the exclusion zone and had not violated neutrality as the Iraqis claimed. Iraq apologized, and Saddam Hussein said that the pilot mistook Stark for an Iranian tanker. American officials claimed that the Iraqi jet's pilot was not acting under orders from his government, and that he was later executed. This has been disputed, as an Iraqi Air Force officer later stated that the pilot was not punished and that he was still alive. Iranian Prime Minister Mir Hossein Mousavi called it a divine blessing and reiterated the standard Iranian view that Persian Gulf is not a safe place for the superpowers and it is in their interest not to enter this quicksand. Iraq Foreign Ministry spokesman said Iraq would never intentionally attack any target in the Gulf unless it was Iranian, and laid the blame on Iran. Washington used the incident to turn up the heat on Iran, which later it blamed for the whole situation. President Reagan said, "We've never considered them hostile at all, and the villain in the piece is Iran." Ironically, the Pentagon said that an Iranian helicopter had joined the Saudi Arabian vessel in rescue operations. Captain Brindle was relieved of duty and retired for not defending his ship, and Tactical Action Officer Lieutenant Basil E. Moncrief resigned. Back in the United States, President Ronald Reagan was criticized for putting American sailors in harm's way. Claims. On the 21st of June 2011, agreement was reached between the governments of the United States and Iraq regarding claims of United States citizens against the regime of Saddam Hussein. The Iraqi government established a fund of $400 million to compensate prisoners of war and hostages in the Persian Gulf War, and those killed or injured in the 1987 attack on Stark. The U.S. State Department is establishing a mechanism to process applications for compensation. Deaths. On the 22nd of May 1987, a eulogy was given by President Ronald Reagan at Mayport Naval Station, Jacksonville, Florida. Annual memorial. A ceremony is held at Mayport Naval Station on the 17th of May each year to remember the 37 men who died in the incident. The ceremony in 2012 was the 25th anniversary of the tragedy.